Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Elliott. I hope you've all enjoyed the beginning of this Insights meeting as much as me, because all I've heard is that we're in the most successful part of the industry that's growing 15 to 18% year on year. We're at the beginning of a 2-year-long consumer growth period. And according to my own organisation, the IAB, no one knows you can already match on and offline data. So there's a massive competitive benefits from us being in this room together at the moment. So lots of money for everyone, hopefully, for the next 2 years. So just before lunch, what Theo was saying was, we can help you take your online data, put it into your offline data asset, and by doing that, you're going to improve your performance by 20%. And there's already 2 examples of that. So that's been pretty easy, and that's pretty brilliant, and lots of people are doing it already. Once you've built that offline or the offline or the data asset of your company, I'm going to show you how you take that and then put that online, and how you grow that success even more, and ultimately how you measure it. And I'm going to show you why it's easy to do, and prove that to you why it's a good idea as well. So this is why we can do what we do as a company. So Conversant as a whole is a sister company for Abacus Alliance. We have 6 main businesses. We are responsible for £6 billion of media revenue globally. If you compare that to the total digital spend in the UK, that was £4 billion. We've got 85% coverage of everybody in the UK, and we see those as individuals. So there's about 120 people in this room. So about 100 of the people in this room we see as individuals. Now, if you just go around that hexagon that's behind me, what you see there is in the top left corner, value click. That's a display network. That tells me what's going on computers, and that was a display network when people were handing out CDs to get on the internet. The next one is Grey Stripe, and that's the 3rd largest in-app network, but what that lets me see is what people are doing on their mobile phones. The next one is Commission Junction. So earlier Claire was talking about affiliate and how big it is as a market. So Commission Junction is the biggest affiliate network in the world, and 1 in every 2 sales online in affiliate goes through Commission Junction globally. The next bit is Datomi, and that's the bit that's doing the join, the on and offline join. And Datomi got bought for about £2.5 billion about 2 years ago. So it's really important that join is done. There's a lot going on under there, but basically all it is creating a person-first media delivery. Mediaplex, which is an auditing and an analysis and attribution platform, and that's used by companies that care about DR, like eBay or PayPal or Dell or somebody like that. And the last bit is Set Video, and that looks at what people are looking at in the videos that they're watching. So the reason I'm rushing through this is because I've got 20 minutes and 20 slides, so I apologise if I'm going a bit quickly. But if you imagine, that's pretty much everything that most of us do in digital, and that gives us 6 sides of consumer. So if you think about what I was just saying, I can see 100 people in this room. I see 100 people in this room every 10 minutes. If you've got all your devices on you, every 10 minutes, one of your devices is pinging something back to my business about what's going on. And if you think about what consumers do online, as I go sort of right to left, that could be who you actually are, kind of demographic data, transactions, what you're buying. So if you did have 3 times as much transactional data as Amazon to play with, that'd be a brilliant way to run digital media. What I watch, so the sort of video content you're looking at, which can indicate someone's starting a purchase process. What I care about is the type of content that they're looking at, and whether they're interested in travel or whether they're really interested in buying baby clothes. That's about to happen to them. How they connect. So do they buy on phones or do they buy on desktops? So if you think about that Black Friday number that was being talked about earlier, the reason the conversions on Black Friday in the UK are higher than the US is mobile penetration is a lot higher, and people shop on their phones while they're walking around. And the last one is where I go, so location data, so where in the country somebody is. So 6 massive companies, 6 global companies, can understand how we might get views about what somebody's doing underneath that. We build that into general profiles like this. So this is what we think somebody who indexes higher than a background is of somebody who shops online using all of that digital data that I was talking about. So things that I think are interesting is that more likely to be renovating a home. Okay, so not everyone who shops online is renovating a home, but they're making more purchases. So they've got a higher purchase likelihood than somebody who's not renovating a home. Device data, they are on Windows or Android, which is normal because more people have Android or Microsoft devices than Apple devices. What they care about, so they're likely to be on shopping websites. They're likely to be on price comparison websites. So digital shoppers tend to be quite savvy, so they're going to check prices a lot before they buy anything. What they're buying, so home appliances and social media, so they tend to be quite heavy social users. And what we see 15 million people in the UK that have 3 devices or more attached to them, and then this volume of media that we can deliver against. Okay, so 6 massive companies, 6 sizes of consumer, built into profiles like this. That puts us in a category with people like Google. Right? We are up there. The type of volume we're talking about digitally, that's pretty clever. That's pretty out there. But the bit that's brilliant, and the bit that the IAB don't know about, is that DM's even better than digital. So this side, I can see all of those things and I can see what someone's doing, but it looks like lots of algorithms and it looks like so much data, it's hard to actually get a single view of somebody. Where here, where you're so used to building a single view of a customer from your CRM files, from your email, from catalogs that you've sent out, if I join that deep single customer view that you guys have got to the fact that I can deliver person first media, so I'm delivering to a person, not all their devices, there's a massive benefit to understanding it's a person and I'm delivering ads to a person wherever they go, and I can stay with that person every 10 minutes. I can make a decision whether to show them an ad or not. So if you're thinking about retention, I can keep you in touch with that person every 10 minutes. And that ad, think how much that ad costs. Nothing. That's so cheap to just stay front of mind with your key audiences. Now, if all of that is, you're there, fine, get you Elliott, it's digital, it's a bit boring. The main thing to take away from all of this presentation, even if you skip over the other 9 slides, is the difference of the integration you've just done with Theo is you can now market and know for a fact you're marketing to a person in digital and not a cookie or not a robot or not something that's fraud, okay? So once you know that totally changes how you do digital marketing online now. And more importantly, that will put you ahead of 95% of the market. So that's really important. You're a massively growing market, massive increase in consumer spending. That's going into online and mobile, and you know what they're doing and your competitors don't. So there's a massive opportunity there. So that leads to responsible digital investment. And this is how you guys can use us if you want to. And there's 2 sides of it. And it comes down to the size of your customer base. And I'll come on to that at the end, but it's to do with whether we can create statistically relevant numbers for the measurement that we want to do. And that affects with how we can engage with you. So on the right-hand side, there's 2 channels that we can do with everybody, and we do already do with companies who are very small up to absolutely huge. So we do lead generation online with a lot of businesses. So Claire was saying that the market for lead generation is 1 billion and grew 14% year on year. So I'd like to talk about that because I know it can be very, very easy to get your fingers burnt doing lead generation, but it's more about finding the right way of doing it than not doing it at all. We can run media campaigns that allow you to see growth or allow you to see sales. But the main thing I want to talk to you about here is how we allow you to personalize media delivery and how we allow you to measure for incremental performance across on and offline media. Okay, and that doesn't exist anywhere else. And I'll talk about it at the end, but it sounds a bit complicated, but it actually makes things incredibly easy for you as an online, offline business. So, responsible lead generation. Why do I think lead generation is a good idea when lots and lots of people, and probably people in this room, have told me that it's not worked for you previously? So, the first reason is that I do lots and lots of it, and I have done lots and lots of it, and I've seen that 14% growth year on year as well. All of these brands have worked with us at least in the last 18 months. We are paid about £200,000 a month to do lead generation by various companies, and those leads are between £2 and £40 depending on what they are. The bit that I think matters, and I'm not sure whether I'm sorry, I apologise for teaching you to suck eggs, but the bit that I think is important is how we do that. So when we look for lead generation, we do it like a media plan. We try and put the creative that generates the lead in the right place for the audience to begin with. So it looks just like a media buy that you do normally. The offer that we put on it should be something like a sample or a very low value competition entry. So if someone is entering a competition for flowers and it's a packet of seeds as a sample, they're very likely to be in market. So that's a more valuable lead. The collection of that lead should be done in digital on a single collection form, because if you remember what I was showing you before, there's a huge amount of data I can collect on someone, whether or not they actually give you their details on their lead. And I can stay with that person as they go around the internet generally. They've already given me information about them before they've converted. And then the last piece is when that lead's collected, that lead doesn't get passed straight away to a retailer or for somebody to use. That goes to a third party, and that third party is not related to our business, and that third party looks at 50 different variables about whether that lead is real, and they will be things like, does this phone number match the postcode that the lead's from? Does the email address exist? Does the email address say daffy.duck@hotmail.com? And once all those 50 checks have been done, then somebody looks at all of them to check they're real. Then they get past the retailer, and if the retailer doesn't already have that lead, that's when the lead's paid for. So the main points from that is doing these checks. 20% of the leads that we might have passed to somebody were seen as being not valid, but 97.5% of those leads, whilst they might not have been somebody who bought something, they are completely net new and they are actually a person. And that's a very big differentiation from buying a list of names off of somebody and then trying to make that work for your business. So just wanted to say this quickly, because the next bit I want to talk about is you can't do it unless you've got a big enough actionable audience. And this is actually the most efficient way to create an actionable audience of net new customers. And Jules and I will be on a table later on. If you'd like to talk about that, I'd be really happy to have a conversation generally about it. So the next bit is, how do you do responsible online media? So how do you take everything you know about your offline customer and turn that into a campaign that you can measure? All right, I've got an issue with the word attribution. It inherently means an inferred figure. It's not saying measurement. It's not saying, I know for a fact I did this and it made an action happen. And that's what I'm interested in. And that's what we're trying to do for people. So the main part of our business is built around recognizing somebody at scale, knowing 7,000 digital data things about them, plus whatever we can see from a customer's CRM file. Based on that information, personalising the media delivery. So in the Madeline presentation, there was a discussion about a super VIP section. Well, a really good way to personalise media is to do it digitally, because it's really cheap to create all of those iterations of those ads over time. And then the last point is actually to measure it. So as I said, to measure, not to attribute. So in the digital team, we all thought we were really clever when we'd worked this out, but I think this is what you guys do in DM all the time. But this is kind of how those campaigns work. So we build up these audiences, we decide how we're going to market to them, and once we've done that, then we personalise the media delivery underneath. So we build lookalike models to look for net new customers, and we start with the data that I was talking about earlier on. We compare that to your existing customers, exclude anybody that you already know about. If they've got a certain affinity to retail clothes or retail gardening, we'll choose that segment, and that's where we prospect from. And that piece we measure against engagement. So are we driving them to site? Are we getting them to spend lots of time on the site? And what does a completely net new customer to you look like? Then the second part is, once we've done that and once we've turned them into a customer, is how do we actually show true value underneath that? And that is about personalizing your conversation with them. It's not, you've looked at a pair of shoes, I'm going to show you a pair of shoes for the next week. It is understanding that someone looked at shoes and that they're a mum, or that somebody's looked at shoes and they're grandparents and they're buying for their kids, and running brand campaigns and creating brand equity rather than just trying to hammer somebody with a DR message. is to look at that over a very long period of time and measure that for incremental performance. Now, the CRM piece is the offline CRM piece is very important there, because digital data updates every 30 days. So you can't keep an audience past 30 days. So unless you've got some other piece of data like a CRM file, you can't measure value over time. So the incremental piece is critical to have this single customer view, person first media delivery. And the only way you can do it is if you're in some sort of cooperative like everyone here is. This shows you, once you've done that plan, what that media delivery looks like. So it's in a black and white, so it's hard to read, but there's an initial point, a proactive message, a brand message. We might see from somewhere else that they're interested in a certain type of running kit, so that might go in there. Someone visits the homepage. Now there's a completely different sequence of ads. So me and Lara could look at exactly the same thing on a page, but we see a completely different set of ads based on everything else that we know about both of us. And then it might be that there's a specific product. It might be that maybe that product wasn't the right one, or maybe it's something else. It might be that it's a sale offer, or it might be an upsell offer, or it might be, okay, you don't want to buy now, please join our CRM program and we'll tell you what's going on later on. And that's different for every single customer. So if you had 100,000 customers, you'd have 100,000 different campaigns for all of them. That's good. That's better than most people do in market. This bit is absolutely brilliant, and this is the measurement bit. So everything we do, we optimize to incremental performance. Either, and you can choose, do I want incremental revenue or do I want incremental profit? It's an always on A/B test. And the reason that other people don't do this in market all the time is because you have to create a really good, clean holdout group to create a decent incremental test. And that means you need a single customer view and you need a person-first media delivery platform. And at the moment, or previously to this conversation, nobody's been able to do that. So when I'm talking about measurement, I'm talking about measuring whether today, did this ad make you extra money or not above your baseline of your own brand value. And it's very, very different to what else is going on in market. And then there's all of these bits as well. So when we supply this in a dashboard. It's all real time, so you can see this running along while the campaign's running anyway. But things that we would show you would be, and this is you can update this and do whatever you want with it really. There's lots of other things you could see. But impressions, uniques, message, clicks, click-through rate, conversions message, AOV, revenue, incremental figure, critical number at the end. Fairly standard, but then the next piece is what we'll be able to tell you because of the integration that's helping you improve your offline DM sends anyway, is of online only customers, offline only customers, catalog only customers, or multi-channel customers. What's the value of those? What's the value of making someone a multi-channel customer? What's an average order value for a multi-channel customer versus a single channel customer? Spend per customer. Where is the delivery online coming from? Are we delivering on mobile phones, but then somebody converts on a desktop a few days later on? Does sending out a catalogue on Tuesday massively increase online sales if you run some digital on Thursday before it gets there? And the last piece is, of the sales that we're generating each month, how many of those are existing customers and what percentage of those are net new to you based on your CRM file, not that they have not been seen in the last 30 days to your website. So, that's really good information, irrespective of the fact that we're also measuring rather than attributing numbers. And the last piece on that is, I strongly believe that incremental measurement is the best measurement there is. I can't do it for everybody. So I need a holdout group of about 300 people so that I can actually create a statistically relevant incremental test. That needs to be about 10% of overall. So we can't create those for you until we've seen 3,000 sales overall. And what we've done, we've built a tool that will show you the conversions that we're seeing over time and at what point it's likely we're going to be able to create this holdout group. So you'll be able to switch from attribution to a true measurement model. And here, things like lead generation or other prospecting campaigns, we can show you in real time that graph getting closer to a point where you're actually seeing true value for your campaigns. Love all that, really exciting. It's new to England, okay? All of these brands in the US already do this, okay? 83 out of the top 150 retailers in the US use us already. Gap, we're their biggest media channel, including TV. Claire had Macy's up. Macy's are brilliant because we do that for them. Walmart, that's the biggest retailer, I believe, in the US. We do all of this for them already. So what we're doing, we're bringing to the table something that already works. So I hate in digital when people say, let's fail fast, you know. Let's not fail fast. Let's absolutely win fast. Let's nail the next 2 years. Thank you very much.